All right, welcome to another episode of the SNG Weekly Wrap-Up. We are ranking things again today, Joe. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm James Crange. You're Joe Lozito. If you don't know by now, go back, watch the old episodes. We've introduced ourselves plenty of times. This is sponsored, obviously, by SNG. Go check them out. Go check out their website. And even more importantly, I think, than SNG this week, Joe, Spurtability. We're on the Hot 50 from the podcast magazine. So we do a show called Spurtability. It's kind of our audio supplement to this show. And how are you feeling, man? I mean, you're big time now. Did you ever think
it was a good
here?
feeling. We're in good company because I was kind of
Yes.
leafing through, the other contenders. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, finalists. What's to say?
Yeah, finalists, contenders. Whoever else got a lot of votes, whatever.
So very proud of our audience and very proud of Podcast Magazine. So I do want to read. Is there a write up about us, or it's just?
I think it's just our name on a list. Like, yeah, I think that'll be that. We'll see though. I mean, it would be cool if we kind of keep talking to them or something and get a little write up at some point. Yeah, I was mostly just happy that we had so many people voting for us. That made me feel good. I like that.
And I think another podcast got on there too.
Another one, The Wicker Men, as well. If you're into Nick Cage, another one of my podcasts. I don't know if you can see it or not on the video once we put it out, but every time I talk, it says The Wicker Men Pod. So I'm not sure if that shows up or not on our video. But yeah, The Wicker Man made it as well, which is cool. We're watching every Nick Cage movie and we're reviewing them. And Joe was even on an episode. So we'll get you back on when your mic's not all messed up, like it was for that one. So Joe, today we are ranking. I don't know what to call it. We're ranking players that were great, like basically Hall of Fame players, but when they played for other teams. So players on teams they're not
other teams later in their career after their prime.
Exactly. So the teams they weren't known for after their prime. So we're gonna rank those. So I'll pull up my. I'll do a screen share right now.
Are they all Hall of Famers? I'm gonna check my list one more time.
I think maybe besides Cutler.
Yeah. And Jose Reyes.
And Jose Reyes.
Won't spoil, but.
As much as we'd like to see both of them in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, besides those two guys. So just to run through it, we've got Roger Clemens in his last, I'm assuming you meant his last year with the Yankees, not when he was actually good with the Yankees. You've got Jay Cutler, who I mentioned. You've got Brett Favre with the Vikings, LT with the Jets, Karl Malone with the Lakers. You've got Marty Brodeur with the Blues, Michael Jordan with the Wizards, Pedro Martinez with the Phillies, Randy Johnson with the Yankees, Darrelle Revis with the Chiefs, Jose Reyes with the Marlins, and then Shaq Daddy with the Celtics. So our rankings today will go most impactful, good, average, bad, least impactful. I think there's going to be about 4 or 5 contenders up for this least impactful. So I'm excited to get to that one. But let's just go through them one by one. We'll start off with Roger Clemens. So if we want to take, I don't know if you can hear that, but I have a phantom PlayStation essentially where it will just turn on whenever it wants. It just turns on all the time. If I forget to unplug it, it just turns on and the game just goes and goes and goes. So it's pretty annoying. But okay, so Roger Clemens last year with the Yankees, there's a lot of fanfare involved when Clemens signed as a 44-year-old in 2007. It was the middle of the season. He got $28 million, or I think it was like a prorated $28 million. So wasn't fully $28 million. But he ends up pitching in 18 games, gets 12 decisions, 6-6, 4.18 ERA. Joe, this was your pick. Why, where do you think that he lands on this list? And tell me what it meant to you at the time as a Yankees fan in 2007.
It was very exciting, and everybody remembers Susan Waldman's live reaction to it happening when he was in George Steinbrenner's luxury box.
Yep.
So that was fun. That 2017 was not the most exciting team to watch, and I think they lost to the Tigers.
They did. In the playoffs. Or no, was that the Jabba year? Did they lose to the Indians that year?
Jabba 07, perhaps.
Because they missed the playoffs 08.
So when Clemens came back, he was very much like a villain of New York, signing with Houston and pitching so well with Houston. But as soon as he came back, it was kind of like he never really missed a beat in terms of fan support.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people kind of like don't ever talk about Roger Clemens anymore because I think it was so obvious that he was juicing.
Yeah.
It was so hard to not only accept, but to, make that kind of public as a Yankee fan. So I think this was kind of a moral dilemma for everybody. I'm glad it only went 6 games. And I think it's kind of a stain on a team that wasn't great anyway. But I don't think it really helped. And it was kind of a classic Yankee move, just dipping into the past.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good with Houston.
Yeah, he was. And I mean, he was technically retired when they signed him. I want to play the Susan Waldman clip real quick, and then I'll give my thoughts. So hopefully you can hear this.
Roger Clemens is in George's box, and Roger Clemens is coming back. Oh my goodness gracious! Of all the dramatic things I've ever seen, Roger Clemens standing right in George Steinbrenner's box, announcing he is back. Roger Clemens is a New York Yankee.
Cut to them losing in 5 games in the LDS.
And it was the Indians. It was the Indians.
It was, right? Yeah.
Good call there. Yeah.
So yeah, this was. I think you said it. You pretty much said everything I wanted to say about it. It was very, very exciting at the time. I remember, and you're right. It's like New York kind of vilified him, and then it was okay. We can take this guy back. We have no problems with that. The Yankees pitching staff was so bad that year, as it had been since the collapse in 2004, and I think we all thought he was going to be great. And I mean, the year before he had a 2.30 ERA. The year before that, 1.87. In Houston, like you said, he was just so spot on. Clearly juicing. I mean, a 42-year-old with a sub 2 ERA. I mean, come on. But yeah, I'm gonna put. I think I'm gonna put Clemens in the bad category. Would be my vote here. It's got to be either bad or average.
I think production-wise, he was average. I mean,
yeah.
I think to ask that for 43-year-olds to make 6 appearances and just kind of stay afloat.
18 appearances, won 6 games.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know. He stayed afloat. He wasn't like egregiously bad like some of these other guys on this list.
Yeah.
So I think if you put him in bad now, you're gonna think he's in poor company.
That's
I think
true.
he wasn't very impactful, but I think it was just an average thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we can move him to average. You kind of convinced me back there. Maybe I'm too much of a pushover, but I think you can always pretty much convince me on these things. So we'll put Clemens on average to start here. Next up, we've got Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, another guy who retired. The Miami Dolphins starting quarterback. Ryan Tannehill goes down with injury, and they sign Cutler right out of the Fox Sports press box. Cutler plays in 14 games, goes 6-8. I'm trying to see 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. This is another one of your guys, so you start on this.
Yeah, to me, this is kind of the definition of least impactful.
Yeah,
it was just kind of a logjam year for Miami, who kind of tried to hit the quarterback rookie carousel after this, but obviously we're delayed, and I think this kind of took a year away from their rebuilding process. I think at the time it was a good idea because the team was good enough, to kind of compete for a playoff spot if they had a more reliable quarterback. And he didn't play poorly, and I think he was kind of the last guy people thought would come out of retirement, to play in the NFL again. But I think really it's probably impactful on the rebuilding because they're kind of a year behind. But you have to imagine that staff probably gets another year anyway. I think that staff probably buys themselves another year if they don't get Cutler.
Yeah.
If they had another, rookie quarterback at that time to work with, then
I'm looking up right now who it was that they did have that year. What was it, 2017, right? Let me double check this.
I think it was Matt Moore.
2017. Was it Matt Moore? Was the backup? That's it was. It was Matt Moore and David Fales. Yeah, I think you're right. You buy yourself an extra year if you go the Matt Moore route. instead of paying Jay Cutler what they did. Or there had to be some other quarterback out there that might have made more of an impact, whether by trade or free agency.
Well, so Tannehill was out, and then it was really between Moore and Fales. It was hard to give up on Tannehill at that time, but revisionist history, you probably roll the dice on a rookie there and kind of see what you have with Tannehill the year after.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an exciting play. So I don't know. I don't know where that leaves it. You can decide.
I don't think he's going to win the least impactful award. I think there's a couple of players on this list that were less impactful. But I'm happy to put him there for now because I think he can go into that conversation. Because like you said, I think he cost his coaches an extra year of their job. Who knows what happens there? Who do the Jets end up signing, that kind of thing. But then, he was just, you expected, I don't know, did you expect more from him? It's not like he was.
No, it was exactly
major letdown.
It was exactly what I anticipated.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So
not super surprising, but we'll put him there for now. Let's move off football. We'll go kind of out of order here. Let's go to hockey. We did no hockey in our list last time. We'll go with Marty Brodeur, the great Marty Brodeur, who shockingly, I'm trying to get out of this screen share thing. How do I move this? This is an issue. There we go. Move it to the bottom. Can you see that on your screen?
No, you can't. It is a ghost on my screen.
Okay, so a ghost on your screen, very much alive on my screen. Brodeur, something I did not realize after playing, 23 seasons with the Devils, goes to the St. Louis Blues. I didn't realize he only played in 7 games. He only started 5 games. So right there, you would think maybe he's up for least impactful. I actually think he had a pretty solid impact on the team because he got some buzz going about St. Louis hockey, which there kind of hadn't been for a while, but they got this superstar goalie. People thought he was kind of going to regain some form, even if it was just in a backup role. But just bringing him there and then him transitioning immediately into a front office role.
Yeah.
I think he had a pretty decent impact on the team. So for me, I think it was an average to a good signing. I obviously, he only played in the 7 games, started 5 of them. So it's not like we're going to sit here and say that he had such a strong impact on the ice that kind of changed the entire team around. But for me, just what he did in terms of bringing that fan base back, and look, they just won a Stanley Cup last year. This was kind of the start of kicking that off, telling people the Blues were kind of legit. And then him getting into the front office and clearly doing a pretty good job. So I'm between average and good, I think, on this.
Yeah, I agree. This was definitely kind of a messy breakup with the Devils, which was kind of disappointing. But he had a plan going in. It was a little bit weird where it was like, okay, yeah, we're going to sign you, and then you're going to work upstairs, which was definitely bizarre. I actually had a lot of talks about the hockey guys that went to a contender to win a cup. This was a big point of discussion at work in the winter, kind of in the dead days of football. We had a lot of hockey talk, and it was funny just looking at how many players that you consider, very good players, because it was around Hall of Fame voting, that you were like, well, you got to win a cup to be in the Hall of Fame. We were looking at all these recent guys that latched on with like a Penguins or somewhere to win a cup, just to have one on the resume and eventually get in. So that was cool. But yeah, I average to good. You can't call it bad.
It wasn't bad, and it definitely wasn't the least impactful. So
yeah,
I think average. I think average is fair for our guy Brodeur. One of the things that's crazy with hockey is just how intense their salary cap is, and how you can really only pay a few top guys because guys just don't stay on teams that long, and that's what was crazy about Brodeur. And it is true of most goalies. If you have a good goalie, they'll stay on for quite a long time. But for him to go 22 seasons with the Devils is pretty insane. I almost put Scott Gomez on here for when Gomez left the Devils for the Rangers, but then I realized Gomez played for like 8 other teams after that.
That wasn't his final go.
Yeah, that was 2007, and I would have said he retired maybe 2011. He played up until 2016, so I definitely couldn't put him on there. All right, so next up, let's go to basketball. Let's do basketball. Let's do our first basketball one. Let's do Karl Malone. Karl Malone with the Lakers. Tell me about his time with the Lakers while we look down here at his stats.
I think this one, you got to put it as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a totally like coveted signing at the time. This, even though he was washed up, this was kind of a period in the NBA where the super team hadn't really been built yet. And I think a lot of people thought this was kind of the first one, and to get Kobe that help, and Shaq giving them Gary Payton and Karl Malone, you think that's going to add to the dynasty even more. And it was kind of a lost year for them. And I think this kind of put a hold on the super team concept for a while until kind of the Celtics, kind of ran it back, and there was always the comparisons there. So I think it was nothing short of bad. I don't know if you disagree.
No, I think it was bad too. And obviously they did make the finals that year. But Malone only played half the season. He only played 42 games. So. And
it was kind of a dark time for the NBA. I feel like that 03, 04, LeBron came in that year, kind of to 2007-08 was kind of really tough with the Pistons.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, those Pistons teams, I was watching some of those finals games because they've been re-airing them, Pistons, Lakers. It could not have been worse basketball.
Yeah. But even that Lakers team was kind of tough to watch because they were really just Peyton and Malone just really were not fun to watch at that time.
Yeah. And you could almost tell in that finals that Kobe and Shaq just hated each other at that point.
So this didn't help.
This definitely did not help at all. I firmly agree with you on Malone being bad there. Okay, another one of your guys here. We've got Brett Favre going to the Vikings, quarterback in the Vikings. I'll start on this one and just say it has to be good, right?
I think this is the most impactful, especially out of our group here.
Okay. Especially 2009, right? That 12-4 season, make the NFC Championship game. Of course, Bountygate takes him out. But 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. This is crazy that he had 11 touchdowns and 19 interceptions the following year. That is outrageously bad. Or his 22-22 season with the Jets is not great either. But yeah, I think this is right up there for most impactful. I think we can move it up there right now. But tell me a little bit why are you putting him there?
I think this is kind of what a lot of people think about if you hear this category. This was so unbelievable. Definitely would have been a lot more unbelievable coming out of Green Bay back to, like, right from Green Bay to Minnesota. I think the Jets' gap year was probably good, at least for his legacy in Green Bay. But this was bizarre. I mean, it took a long time, I think, that season for people to take him seriously again. After
definitely.
Just the end of the Jets season, and I do believe he was pretty severely injured in those last couple of weeks with the Jets. But you're not just gonna magically heal at 41. So I don't know what's up with Brett Favre. I mean, he's a total weirdo, but he could play, and they absolutely should have won that NFC Championship game. And I really do think out of this group, he's most impactful.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I'm looking at it right now. I think he'll probably end up staying most impactful. But we'll put him up there for now, not set in stone, but for me, definitely up to this point, he's for sure the most impactful. Let's go to LT. Stay on the football field. Go to LT. LT's with the Jets, his last 2 seasons in the league. I would say that 2010 year when they made it back to the AFC Championship game, him and Sean Green for a team that was built around just running the ball and then defense. He really couldn't have been better that year. Just looking at his stats, 914 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, 368 yards receiving. It's all in a backup role. Kind of like Favre, by the second year there, really wasn't a star. He wasn't that great. But I think overall his time with the Jets was good. And I think looking back, he was a really good piece for that team, and one that I thought could have pushed them to the Super Bowl. Obviously still painful to think about them not making the Super Bowl that year. But do you agree that he belongs in the good category?
Absolutely. LT was great. If he scores that touchdown at the end of the Steelers game, he might even be most impactful.
Yeah.
But he was great. Obviously kind of got in his own way, or not his fault with Schottenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
But he, consummate pro from everything I've ever heard about LT. And you hope that guys like that, and that's really the hardest part about this Jets teams of those eras is you hope that all the veterans they had and guys like LT would leave, the culture in place for other players down the road. And I think that was the hardest part, besides losing the games, was it really felt like after that second AFC Championship game, like it just wasn't a sustainable team. I don't know. I don't know if you agree.
I agree.
It always felt like that Steelers game, like you knew that for whatever reason this wasn't going to last.
Yeah.
Because they just milked everything out of those teams and out of guys like LT. As you see, the second year, not nearly as productive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a huge what if, obviously.
Yes,
but I think he's good.
And one we'll probably be talking about for the next 50 years as the Jets push 100 years without a Super Bowl victory. But yeah, he's definitely in the good category. Next up, Michael Jordan. This one's going to be contentious because Joe believes Michael Jordan is not even a top 50 NBA player of all time, are words that have come out of his mouth many times. Michael Jordan with the Wizards. This was a weird role, and I still can't. Was he like part owner of the Wizards as well?
I believe he was. That's the hard part. I wish I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
Here, I could have a little more grasp on
the
culture of what this was like during this time. I have to imagine it was extremely exciting.
Yes.
I mean, I remember him coming back and people talking about it a lot. But I didn't really feel much of anything about it as I was.
No, I mean,
6.
these were like the first years we were really paying attention to the league.
And I think that was damaging to his legacy, at least for me, and I think for a lot of kids kind of our age, like 24 to 26. Like you see this like fat, out of shape guy, like just bricking threes. Like I don't know, like it wasn't like we weren't watching anything cool, like, and he wasn't cool either. Like I don't know. I think it was bad for him, definitely. Obviously, it was bad for him, at least because they didn't talk about it once during the Last Dance.
Do you see these? You're talking about breaking threes. You see this 19%.
Yeah,
I mean 29%. Brutal.
It was a terrible team. I really, the only reason he came back had to have been for the ownership angle.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't really make a lot of sense. I think they made the playoffs one year.
I don't think they did. I think you're wrong on that. I don't think he made the playoffs with the Wizards. I could be wrong though. Half the league makes the playoffs, so it's possible they slipped in. But I do not believe he had any playoff runs with the Wizards. I don't know if you want to fact check that.
Yeah, I'm going to look quick. So
yeah, look that up. For me, I think in terms of him being a good marketing tool and someone to amp up the team and that kind of stuff, I think in that sense he was good. The problem is, like you were saying with LT, none of that sustained for the Wizards culture. It's not like it made them into this great organization, this winning organization, anything like that.
It probably made it worse. I mean,
it probably made it worse. Yeah.
It's a similar effect as LT. I think it's a different experience they had because I think it was bad the whole time he was there. They didn't make the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think it's bad personally.
I think it's bad too. I think it's actually really bad. And there was that story about him. Who was the team that was reaching out to Michael to come play that year? The Mavs. Mark Cuban said, he offered kind of this Godfather deal to Michael Jordan to come play. But Jordan was already committed to the Wizards, whatever. And I think that might have made more sense if he could have been more of a role player. He was coming to this young team that was pretty awful, and he had to be the guy. But like you said, he was fat, old, didn't have the talent anymore. And I think it was bad. I think it actually had a long-term lasting impact. So in that sense, I mean, he could be most impactful because he, I think, had such a negative effect on the team. But I think we'll leave him at bad. So then we've got Pedro Martinez, Boston Red Sox great, Montreal Expos great, and New York Mets great. But we are talking about Pedro with the Phillies.
His numbers are better than I remembered.
His numbers are better than I remembered. He pitched in fewer games, though, only 9 games.
Well, he pitched in the World Series, which was the problem.
But that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing is I think he was instrumental in getting to them to the World Series. but then he did lose those 2 big games in the World Series.
He was throwing BP in the World Series.
Yes, yeah, he was awful.
This was a staff that really didn't need a guy like Pedro Martinez. I never understood why he was even a part of it.
Me neither.
Did
he come midway through the season? I'm looking it up right now.
I think they did. I think he did, but I mean, this was a team that had 4 top of the line starters. And so Lee, Oswalt, Halladay. Was it 3 or 4?
I think it was another one. Man, I don't know. I don't remember.
I know Joe Blanton was terrible, so I want to group him there. But it didn't make a sense to have a guy like him. It made more sense to have a younger guy.
Yeah.
But he was throwing 84 miles an hour. It just it never seemed right. He had a terrible ending with the Mets, and he was so good with the Mets in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really classify him as a big game pitcher. He really blew, what Benny would call the biggest game he ever pitched. He was totally dominant, but I never understood it at the time, and I think it probably did help them lose that World Series.
I think so too. They had Cole Hamels.
Oh, Hamels, that's the guy for it.
Yeah, so Jamie Moyer, J-Happ, Cliff Lee. I don't think they didn't have Oswalt or Halladay at the time. That must have been the next season they got Halladay. Yeah, because his first playoff game, Holladay's first playoff game was the no-hitter. No-hitter. And then I think they lost that series, but that was the next year. They also had Chan-Ho Park and Ryan Madsen. But yeah, I think you're right, because they had Hamels, Moyer, and Happ, who were all pitching well. Blanton obviously was terrible. Pedro.
They didn't have Cliff Lee?
They did not have Cliff Lee either.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'll take the loss on that. I thought for sure they had Cliff Lee.
Yeah, I would have thought Cliff Lee as well. You're not seeing him on there, right?
No.
Yeah. Let's see when Cliff Lee got here. This is good research we did. Oh no, Cliff Lee was on the 2009 team. Did he not pitch in the World Series?
Yeah, he was on the 2019.
This was the only year he was on the team. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to see. Yeah, he did pitch in the World Series. Why was that not showing up? That's weird. Okay. I'll take the L on that. Yeah, because that's the reason. That's the whole reason they made the World Series. So makes sense. I'm putting
that scared me for a second, man. I'm like, this dude was definitely in the World Series, but anyway.
I'm putting Pedro in the bad category. I think he has to go in the bad. That's a no-brainer. All right, let's look at Randy Johnson. We'll stay with pitchers here. Let's go Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson with the Yankees. This was one of the most exciting free agent signings to me when it happened. I just was so pumped for Randy Johnson. I got his T-shirt jersey, and this was great. I think his win-loss total is a little bit misleading for how good he was with the Yankees. I think he was maybe more on the average level, but he did win 17 games each year. So it's like, you can't. And I think the impact that he brought to that team was so important. For me, on a personal level, the importance was I saw him pitch against, now I can't remember, was it Chris Brown? Someone on the Mets, where Randy Johnson, they were down 4-0 heading into the 9th inning, and Braden Looper let up 5 runs without getting a single out and lost the game. So that's my great Randy Johnson memory. But it was just cool, man. It was cool to have Randy Johnson. He's a legend. And like we were saying, when we started really getting into sports, 2000, 2001, Randy Johnson's still kind of at the top of the world, despite being as old as he was. And so it's cool to see a legend like that come to your team. For me, my vote is going to be Johnson goes in the good category. I think he was good and impactful for this team. I think he wasn't quite as impactful as the Yankees would have hoped. They never made a World Series or a deep playoff run with him. But I think he was definitely good.
I was extremely disappointed with his kind of era with the Yankees. I think
he was so tall.
I think it made Yankee fans better fans. I think it made them smarter fans. Because I think after this, it wasn't so much of, let's just buy every player.
Yeah.
This was a 41-year-old guy coming to a team that, came off a really, really horrible loss, probably the worst loss in franchise history besides 2001, in 04. So I was stoked as well. I was probably the second most excited. A-Rod was probably first the year before. But I think it just showed that, they really weren't mortgaging the future at all. I was disappointed by him. He was fine. I mean, he was fine. I don't know. I wasn't ever moved by Randy Johnson Yankees.
No, I wasn't either. He was definitely below what you thought he would be. He was awful in MLB The Show. But I do think he was still good. I think the expectations were just so unrealistic for him.
I think that's what it was. It was very high expectations, and in hindsight, you probably shouldn't have been that high to begin with.
Yeah. So I think if we take the expectations out of it, do you think it's fair to put him in the good category?
Yeah, I mean, you won 34 games in 2 years. That's very hard to call yourself bad or even average. But
yes,
it was disappointing.
It was disappointing. So it's good with an asterisk. If only I could add a little asterisk up there, I would. I do the Barry Bonds imprint right over the photo.
I'm gonna leave these three as the last three.
I know. This is where we get into what's going to be contentious, where Jay Cutler might be moved up in the ranks a little bit here. Darrelle Revis onto the football field. Darrelle Revis, our guy with the Jets until he started holding out. But signs with the Chiefs. Should not have signed. I mean, he was so bad his last year with the Jets. So it's surprising to see him sign with the Chiefs. He plays in 5 games, started 2 before getting cut. You can see right there, zero interceptions, 0 fumbles, 11 tackles. Can you see? I wish I could see how many passes he gave up, which I'm not sure is up there, but it has to be, 50 to 70% of his passes thrown his way were caught. I just remember them playing a ton of zone, even though Revis' whole career was they never played zone. He was bad. To me, I think he's up for least impactful. But if we're not going to put him there, it has to be bad.
Agreed. I mean, especially he had a game against the Jets where he was totally lost.
Yeah.
On the field. He played zone with Tampa too, which was also weird. But it was he was bad with the Jets. He was a lot worse with the Chiefs. He had a good kind of end of the season with the Jets. I think he had a pick 6 in the last game. But yeah, he wasn't the same player, and he all-time awareness guy. I mean, he got the money, he got the ring, and that was really it. And I respect it. Looking back after all this time, I do respect it. I do think his holdout was extremely counterproductive, but not for his career. I think I think it really worked out for him. So congratulations to him, but I would call this least impactful.
Yeah, let's put him there.
6 games. Let's
put him there for the conversation. And we'll leave Cutler there for now. But I think he might end up overtaking Cutler, but we'll see. All right, next up, we've got Jose Reyes to the Marlins. If you'll remember the big offseason the Marlins had, they bring in Mark Burley, they bring in Jose Reyes. They already had Josh Johnson. I think they brought in Heath Bell as well. Am I missing someone that they brought in that year? I think it was those 3. I feel like there was maybe another bat involved. I can't remember. Why don't you talk about Jose Reyes and I'll look up that offseason.
So I think a lot of people have tried to scrub this from their memory.
Yeah.
his 3 years. Wow.
Only 1 year. Only 1 year with the Marlins.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the bottom of the Mets, but yes.
Oh yeah, 3 years. That is shocking.
Yeah, his time with the Marlins was, I mean, from what I remember, people would talk about how pretty much almost right away he was a trade candidate. Like I remember he was acquired by the team, and it was already the trade talks like in April and May were beginning, and they made some kind of statement that they didn't get him to trade him, and they traded him, I mean, as quick as they could after that. And it was weird because he was, pretty much still an all-star player, but I think he was just too much off the field, had some problems. And I mean, guys like him are just kind of unsustainable these days, where he just never walks. Really didn't, add a lot in terms of extra base hits or anything. I don't know. He was an okay player.
Carlos Zambrano, by the way, was the other big name there. But it was the big three signings, and then Carlos
this
Zambrano.
was your guy. You became a fan of this team because of him.
That's not true. But
he just tarnished his legacy in many ways. So
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of pity him more than anything because he was so good.
Yeah, I think he was average. I mean, he was an average player. I think this is again just kind of subverting expectations, like we talked about with Randy Johnson. I think when you really look at his stats, he was an average player. Actually, I closed the tab too early. Let me bring it back up because we didn't really talk about it here. But okay, let's see Miami year. 287, 11 homers, 57 RBI, 40 stolen bases.
40 steal guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
but again, this was a totally irrelevant team. This was just a team of irrelevant individuals. How anybody could ever support them blows my mind. And he was a big part of that. So I wouldn't call it least impactful. I don't know what it was. It was weird. It was weird the entire time.
Weird. Yeah, it was weird. The whole thing was weird. I think it was average, man. I think you're being a little too hard on it. But the whole thing was weird.
Let's see what his contract was. I think that's where we're kind of.
It was definitely over 100 mil.
It was astronomical. Like to drop your average 50 points. You can place him. I just want to see what the number.
Okay, I'm going to call him average. I'm going to go with average. I'm going to make the executive decision there.
So 6 years, 106. I mean, it was a terrible signing it was a stupid signing by the Marlins. I mean, I don't know.
I'm still stuck on him playing 3 seasons with the Mets at the end of his
I can't believe it was 3. I thought it was 2. And it was 3.
It was shocking. Okay, so the last one. This is I'm going to put it here just for argument's sake. It's Shaq to the Celtics. This was bad. I mean,
it was so funny because it was bad with the Cavs too. And that was
I know he was like worse with. I mean, they knew what they were getting. They were trying to make one more run here, right, with this team, and he was so bad. And this is that kind of goes to that tarnishing legacy again, because I would say the season I remember him being probably the greatest was that 2006 Miami Heat season. When they won the finals. I was a little too young. I remember watching all those Lakers games, but you asked me who the best Laker was, and I would have told you it was Derek Fisher or Robert Horry because they just hit the winning shot every time. And so, I don't remember Shaq dominating quite as much.
A horrendous take.
I'm just saying my 6-year-old self, I knew Kobe and Shaq were great, but who was the guy that always won them the games? It was Horry and Fisher. So, I really remember him dominating in Miami, and then just to see him as a complete shell of himself, 37 games, 9 points a game, 4.5 rebounds a game. It was bad. It was just really, really, really bad. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't least impactful because they made the playoffs. Maybe we take him out and we just debate Cutler versus Revis, but he was terrible, and he wasn't at all what they wanted him to be. I just remember him not even being able to get up and down the court. It was like using Eddie Curry in 2K.
I totally agree. And he even though he was okay with the Suns, it was such a horrible fit. I never understood why he was there to begin with, and I think that kind of was a chain reaction that slowed his legacy. Probably. It's really crazy that he probably was worse with the Cavs, I think. So I think if you're looking at the Cavs, you would call it bad. I don't think he's the least impactful. I think you got to go Shaq and Revis as the two bads.
As two bads and leave Cutler as least impactful?
Yeah.
Because
I don't know.
I
don't think Cutler needs to be in bad. The Cutler's either least impactful or average.
Or average, which is weird, right? Yeah. So I think I agree with you because it's not – this Chiefs team wasn't a cornerback away from winning the Super Bowl. So Revis was bad. It was a bad signing, but it was only 5 days. Five games. I think if the Dolphins made the right choice at quarterback that season, like you said, could have either bought their coaches more years or they could have been a playoff team. They weren't a bad team. They were just coming off a pretty successful year with Tannehill. So yeah, I think Cutler. I'm good with Cutler, at least impactful. He was, like you said, he wasn't bad. He was average, but when you needed a guy to be good, he had the least impact on the team, and he had kind of a long-lasting negative impact on the team. So at least positive impact. I think what we're getting from this is that maybe signing veterans to big deals. Maybe this should be the Tom Brady rankings. I think Brady. I think the odds are stacked against him just looking at this. You have one guy in the average just because he was good as an executive. You have another guy in the average because he
left the team before he could really hurt him.
Yeah, exactly. But before he could impact him. You have Johnson good because he won 17 games, but he didn't help that team really. And you're probably just looking at Favre and LT. Out of these 12 players, Favre and LT are probably the only ones that left any kind of positive impact on their team, just in terms of that season and actually bringing the team almost to the next level. So, yeah, I think I like this list. I like this ranking. I'm happy with our choices. Any last changes you want to make here, or are you happy with where everything?
No, I'm happy with this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me unshare my screen so we can do our little wrap up here. That's fun. I like doing these rankings. I'm happy we've been doing this. I think we should keep doing this. If anyone listening has anything they want us to rank, any good thoughts? I was thinking maybe we slip into like movies or something next week. Might be fun. You've only seen 6 movies, so it might be hard. But
can I plug you and Bradley's comeback?
Yeah. Please take it away.
I haven't seen it yet. I just saw it, I think like half hour ago, maybe, or half hour before we started. It was posted, so I didn't want to start it, rushing. I was in the car. But yeah, so I'm going to plug that as well.
Yeah, so on our channel here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're releasing a video every week. I am also doing one where I'm playing a game of Warzone every week. I'm so bad at the game, but I kind of hide my flaws because my co-host Dan is so good at the game. But I had a reunion with Bradley after 4 years being off air. We made it back. We mended our differences, and we're doing the Mike and the Mad Dog reunion show. No, it was good. It was good to be back with him. Just a little tease, and this is how we'll end the show. I'll ask you one of the questions that I asked those guys, and that's how we'll end the show. This is what we do. We ask dumb questions while we play Warzone. It's a lot of fun. You just check it out on this channel. Joe, I was inspired by some recent documentaries, recent sports documentaries, some golf scenes in the documentaries. So if you were to pick an ideal partner to play a game of golf with, this is, you want to win. So you're looking to win. It's you 2 versus another 2, kind of like the match. You can pick 1, Peyton Manning, who obviously, last Sunday did it. You have 2, Michael Jordan, 3, Charles Barkley, or 4, O.J. Simpson.
I think OJ for the novelty.
I've said OJ because he has the gall to put his golf ball on tees when he's in the rough. So, I mean, you got to pick him.
I don't golf. If I knew more about golf, to just hang out, it has to be OJ. I mean, the other 3, I feel like they're not accessible. They're more accessible than him.
Yep, I totally agree. And we spent about 5 minutes talking about Charles Barkley's swing after that. So you have that to look forward to, but go check that out. Make sure you hit subscribe for us. Check out Spurtability, one of the podcast magazine's Hot 50 podcasts. If you like what we're doing, we basically do this, but more sports oriented on Spurtability. Do you have any final thoughts, Joe?
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, that's it for us this week. We're going to have a show next week doing some more rankings. And then we might have a show where we're together in person the week after that, which will be really fun. So look forward to that. Look out for everything. And give us a subscribe. Thank you.